This is the story of how emergency management specialists from the federal, state, and local levels of government work together to meet the threat of Hurricane Allen and serve the people of Texas.
Now here's a complete look at what an approaching hurricane has done to Corpus Christi. These two red flags on the Lawrence Street T-head were raised early this afternoon when a hurricane warning went into effect. They mean a hurricane could strike the area within 24 to 36 hours. Thousands of local residents have heeded that warning and have left town for points inland. The park rangers were asking the last tourists to leave. A few, in fact, didn't even know about Allen.
Please be advised, we're under hurricane warning. We're under hurricane warning. You will have to vacate the island immediately.
Meanwhile, long lines existed at local stores that still had plywood for sale. Some said they had wished they had bought that wood before those two red flags were raised.
In nearby Aransas Pass, the downtown area is boarded up. Many of the businesses have closed. Others will close very shortly. Over in Ingleside, there's a similar situation.
In the past hour, we are under Hurricane Allen warning stage. We advise you to evacuate as soon as possible.
But on Interstate 37, a steady stream of traffic going north toward San Antonio. A lot of people aren't sticking around. Those that are leaving are calling the civil defense. They want to know...
Allen is shaping up to be a storm that could make Celia look like a baby. That's the fact. It is now coming this direction. And if you will remember, we were fortunate in Celia in that we didn't have major surge tides. Don't think we will be this lucky this time, because if it hits anywhere near Corpus Christi, you're going to see some massive surge tides. So, all of you who are viewing this, and there are any place near a flood tide area, any place near water, you should evacuate now. It's not funny, it's a serious business now because it's coming. And if you want to see something impressive, look at this. It's covering practically the entire Gulf of Mexico. The leading edge of the cloud shield is now very...
Representatives here decide who's going to be the agency spokesman. Bob is en route.
Friday, August 8th, 1980. The State Emergency Operating Center is activated to respond to an impending disaster, Hurricane Allen. The State Emergency Management Council is composed of various state agencies and the Red Cross, as appointed by the governor. They operate from the center to utilize their capabilities in the most effective way possible. The center serves as a coordinating point in the decision-making process to respond to the needs of the political subdivisions of the state. The special assistant to the governor opens the meeting.
A lot of hard hours put in by everybody, and ahead of time we want to express our appreciation from Governor Clements for your work on this, and nerves will be strained, patience will be strained. We've got to keep working at it, keep working together, do our things the way we know how to do them, and follow through with the training that we've all been given to get the job done.
Those of you that have been here before know that
the state coordinator briefs the council.
Period as far as nerves are concerned, and that is just sitting and waiting to see what's going to happen. We do know that there is a considerable amount of spontaneous evacuation. The city manager of South Padre Island tells me that South Padre Island will be totally vacated by dark tonight. That's what's going on. We have had contact with all of the people along the coast. We have sent out teletypes advising them of the governor's proclamation and of the availability of the disaster district committees at Houston and Corpus.
Next, the meteorologist from the Texas Department of Water Resources describes the monitoring of the hurricane and its current location.
Of the hurricane. So with this, we are able to plot the eye of the hurricane on half-hour intervals. This is the eye, and it's approximately 250 nautical miles southeast of Corpus Christi. The movement has been about 18 miles per hour, generally in the west-northwest direction. So if the hurricane continues in that direction at that speed, it should make landfall in 14 hours.
Doug has some comments now. Doug, you want to come on over and you go ahead and get the comments?
Now that the agencies are updated, the evening controller is introduced, and each representative reports on the kind of support his agency can provide. The exchange of information is vital to a coordinated effort.
In Richmond, they have supplies available, water, whatever they need. Corpus Christi is still in the process of evacuation.
Air National Guard said that they would have their 3 C-130s in Corpus Christi at 1800 about an hour from now, and they would stand by it until which time.
While the briefing continues, a weather update is received, requiring the immediate attention of the group.
The eye is becoming smaller. All indications are the thing is now beginning to intensify. The winds were estimated at 150 miles per hour, but I would guess that estimate is low. Brownsville and Brownsville area and north should be experiencing squall-like situation within the hour.
We need to make a decision here whether or not the council should recommend to a specific local official somewhere that they should expedite their evacuation, taking into consideration the fact there's been a considerable amount of spontaneous evacuation, as George has pointed out.
I expect the rains to begin within the hour, and they're going to continue until this thing passes on over. Evacuation should begin as soon as possible, again between Brownsville and...
Would all of you agree then that we should probably send, in the name of the Disaster Council, recommendation to those local officials from Brownsville, Palacios, if evacuation is not complete, they should begin and expedite it. Is this about what you're saying, Bob? Would you care to compose that message, and then we'll edit it and type it? Thank you.
The briefing is concluded, and each council member returns to his duty area in the Emergency Operating Center to continue his work until the new shift begins. The evacuation is underway. People head for shelters. The Red Cross and other organizations provide aid and comfort to evacuees, for their home cities are now boarded up and empty. In the evening, the new shift continues the center's vigilance as Allen's winds reach 170 miles per hour. Landfall of the eye of the hurricane is of grave significance. Winds around the eye will be its most destructive force. Location, direction, and speed of the storm are analyzed as these emergency management specialists prepare for the contingencies.
This picture was taken at 3 o'clock this morning, so it's 4 hours behind the fact, but it does show the eye very well defined. In fact, radar indicates that the eye has shrunk to less than 10 miles in diameter, and this is suggestive of the fact that the storm has intensified during the night. It's since drifted westward, and the outlook is for it to drift west-northwestward and make landfall just north of Brownsville, probably over the southern half of Padre Island, about mid-afternoon.
During the night, the rains began. Now they are steadily increasing, along with the wind. So far, there's no serious damage, but it won't be long before Allen strikes the Texas coast. As landfall becomes imminent, the governor arrives and is updated on the emergency. As the state's chief executive, the governor provides the authority necessary to pull together all the elements of this disaster management group.
It has decreased its westward movement, showed signs of strengthening around the central portion of the eye. It looks like it could hit north of Brownsville and between there and Matagorda Bay. That's a great distance. Sometime this evening, it's possible that it will make a lurch northward and then westward. So a likely area, rather than Brownsville, which is where it's pointed now, will be to the north of there, along the South Padre Island into Laguna Madre, and maybe as far north as Baffin Bay.
Not much change if it's slipping south, huh?
No, sir.
We are experiencing something that's new to us, and that's that traffic volumes are very low on the highway. In fact, like a normal weekend.
After the hurricane update, each agency representative meets the governor.
12 hours on, 12 hours off. Have the rest of our troopers on standby alert to go when this thing finally comes ashore. And that's about all we're doing, is just kind of playing a waiting game to see.
How do you explain that?
I think a lot of that traffic, the early traffic, was a result of an awareness that never heretofore existed until the Disaster Emergency Services, Texas Coastal Marine Council, and Insurance Information Institute program got 2.5 million maps out along the Texas coast over a 6 to 8 year period.
136.
But even as the briefing is in progress, an unexpected development off Port Aransas causes a new and serious concern to arise.
The current problem is a Liberian tanker off Port Aransas. At its last reported drift direction, it would appear to intercept the beach. Any cleanup, open water oil recovery or cleanup on the beach would not be possible with the seas running 20 to 30 feet. So we'll just have to hope they get power restored to the engine. They were trying to evacuate the crew. That's the message we received. That was at 12:26.
That's the latest we can get on Marietta.
Is that coming through the Coast Guard?
Right, the Coast Guard is handling the regional response team. They are the coordinator.
It's not going to be a nice situation. There's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of people displaced, a lot of economic loss. But if we can all work together, I think we can minimize the damages. I think that's all we really can do at this point, is try to hold down those damages to the minimum. If any of you can think of something that I can assist with through the office of the governor and whatever kind of an executive directive would be, or contact with the federal agencies, or laying our finger, or activating some resource that we heretofore don't have, just let me know, and we'll see what we can do with it.
Our probable next step will be request the presidential disaster declaration.
Sure.
In your name.
Thank you very much. Good to see everybody.
That evening, the waiting grows more intense. The governor and the state's U.S. senator are present to see what help they can provide. But mainly, everyone must wait. All has been planned for except the unexpected. And so the group waits, not knowing what will happen until the hurricane lands. In the night, the hurricane lands. Thankfully, the wind damage is light. Because of the early evacuations and the center's crisis management, the loss of life is low. Even the oil tanker, the Mary Ellen, runs safely aground. But the danger everywhere has not passed. The rains continue. There will be flooding. The center continues to operate.
The heavier rains will not be occurring in this section of the Rio Grande.
Although there will be flooding, not all areas will be affected. In some areas, the rains are abating. It's becoming clear that it is safe to release people into some of the evacuated areas.
Victoria, our people there, and the highway department talking to their people in Yoakum, which is their district office. We're kind of the opinion that we could release people on a line east of US 77 to go back.
And though the situation continues to call for constant monitoring in such matters as water availability,
We need to check with them, see if they have any additional need for water.
the sense of emergency is lessening.
They're working on now. Yes. There's a car out in the parking lot with its lights on. It's a tan four-door Chrysler. I don't know if it's, I guess it's been reported.
Oh, haven't you turned the lights off yet?
Oh, yeah. All right.
National flood insurance. Surely not enough to do the job, but apparently there was from what I've heard, a 9-foot wall of water. I guess it was a tidal wave, and it just went through and took everything. Gutted it completely here on the shoreline. If you can call it fortunate, we're fortunate here because we have the sand and whatnot. Back down 2 or 3 blocks the other way, they've got just mud and grime and slime and filth that looks like it came out of the sewer.
Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, arrives on the coast. They are here following the governor's request to the president for a major disaster declaration. They will work with the Texas Division of Emergency Management and other state agencies. And they explain to people how FEMA will help relieve the burden of this disaster.
We'd like to get in to sort of provide a nucleus to organize a disaster recovery effort and turn it all over to people back in this area. But one of the things we do, as quick as we can get into a disastrous area, is to hire local people and turn everything over to them, and so we get our people out. They know more about what they need to do for themselves than some Fed does from up in Denton. So
FEMA is the United States government's agency for disaster assistance, and they arrive on the scene fast when state government asks for public and private assistance. Disaster assistance centers are established. They will house all government agencies and volunteer organizations who are here to provide speedy assistance to storm victims. As always, state and federal agencies associated with disaster emergency management promote constant awareness of disasters. They develop long-term programs to mitigate the effects of disasters like Allen. Emergency management is a big job because it includes not only mitigation, but also preparedness, response, and recovery. The management of Hurricane Allen was a big job, but it was accomplished. Through the teamwork, capabilities, and dedication of these emergency management specialists, working within the framework of many levels of government, the lives of many Texans were saved and hardships were reduced.